Magic is found in every room, where people connect over a shared purpose. In this weekly podcast, Luke, Hannah and Chris explore the role of purpose, courage, mindset and culture in every leader's quest for transformational performance.
So I will share a story about something good from NNAHRA. Today I attended the mental health wellness session, and specifically it was a very emotional session. Anthony shared his experience with attempting suicide. And then the other two individuals, Teresina and Angela, they were able to talk to us about how you can help your employees who are facing mental health issues. That's what I learned today. I really appreciated that session, and I'm looking forward to next year.
I attended a session called Calm in the Chaos, presented by Ruth Zaldivar. I believe she was from a casino in Oklahoma, specifically Tulsa, because she mentioned a historic flood that the casino had encountered. But what I really appreciated about this presentation was that she tied in real-life examples of what they faced, the challenges they faced, the adverse circumstances, to the Basque principles of SHRM, as well as NNAHRA's THERP certification. She tied in the leadership, the practical situations, the planning, and then the things that their best practices, their lessons learned from those adverse circumstances that helped them be a better employee in terms of serving and taking care of their employees. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. So if I took anything, one of the many things I should specify with that, or be specific, but that was truly a seminar worth attending.
I'll tell you something good about NNAHRA 2022. I want to say it is the effect that I have on people. I love when people tell me I have good energy, and I want to keep up that good energy. So 2022 NNAHRA has been a blast. I'm out.
Hello, and welcome to Magic in the Room. I'm Chris Province, and today we have a very special episode. We are here at the National Native American Human Resource Association National Conference. So we'll refer to that today as NNAHRA. I'm so excited today to be joined by NNAHRA's leadership. Their board members are here, and we're going to talk all things Indian country, tribal sovereignty, HR. We're going to have a lot of fun in the next few minutes. So thank you all for joining us. So without further ado, I'm going to run through some introductions, kind of let everyone know who's here with us today. First off, we have the NNAHRA president, Judy Wright. Thank you, Judy, for being here. Judy Wright is an enrolled member of the San Pasqual Band of Mission Indians and began her career in human resources in 1981 at Hewlett-Packard Company. That was located just in San Diego, California. In 2001, she joined Valley View Casino and Hotel. That is an enterprise of her tribe, the San Pasqual, where she serves as Vice President of Human Resources. Thank you for being here, Judy. Also, we have the NNAHRA Vice President, Anthony Tillman. Anthony Tillman is of Mohawk, Otoe, Missouri, and Muskogee Creek descent, and has served as NNAHRA's Vice President since 2015. Anthony is currently working for the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe as their Cannabis Compliance Manager. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And we also are joined by the NNAHRA Treasurer, Azadeh Tavakoli. She is Meskwaki and Iranian. Human resources is her passion, and she's worked with both tribal and medical employers since 2007. She's proud to have served on the NNAHRA board and has been on and off since 2015.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. And last but not least, we're joined by the NNAHRA Secretary, Suzanne Clem. Thank you so much for being here, Suzanne. Suzanne Clem is the Human Resource Director at Wild Horse Resort and Casino, which is owned by the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. And Suzanne joined NNAHRA as a speaker back in 2006.
Thank you for having me.
And was elected to the board in 2008.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's morning here in beautiful San Antonio. I think everybody brought their boots to this conference. We've been throwing lassos and all kinds of fun cowboy stuff down here in Texas. So let's talk about NNAHRA. And, we know it as the Native American Human Resource Association, But we're going to dig in today. Like, what do you guys do? What's your purpose? How do you fulfill that? But first, you guys have all been called to leadership in this space. And one, I just want to show appreciation and say thank you for your leadership and your effort and leading Indian country through, it seems like it's always fluctuating times and challenges ahead, right? And a lot of changes. And especially as so many tribes are looking at expansion and medical and different manufacturing, it's an exciting time to work in Indian country. But let me ask, and we'll just kind of start with Anthony and go around the horn here. What was your calling? What really compelled you to say, hey, I want to be a part of this organization and I want to be part of leading Indian country into the future?
Well, the first time I was supposed to come to Nashville, that was my first conference, but my son broke his arm, so I had to cancel last minute and I couldn't go. So next one was in New Orleans, and I liked it. It was the networking, the people. People were smiling, people were laughing, having a good time. And I let my supervisor at the time, my manager, Stacy Holcomb, he was like, you could be part of this. I mean, you could be part of something great. And I was like, okay. And it was funny because he went out the night before and he woke up just to nominate me, and then he went back to bed. But he wanted to make sure that I got nominated because he said, you belong here. This is something that you can do. And I went up there and I was going against, the incumbent was Mike Teeple at the time, and he's been on the board for quite some time. And we had our speeches and I gave my speech and people loved it. And I just knew then that, hey, this is something I could be part of, something I wanted to. And the reason I knew it was good is because even after, I felt bad that I beat Mike. And I went up to Mike and I said, I just want to apologize that I don't want to have any hard feelings. And Mike turned around and he says, there's no hard feelings at all. He goes, congratulations, you deserve this. Now take it to the next level. And with Tao, I thanked Tao, and he said, you're going to be a great fit. So that, seeing how they embraced me and seeing how they loved my energy and the spontaneity of me, they were just, I knew this was my calling. And it's been my calling because they'll tell you that I've switched jobs a couple of times, but I've always made sure, because you have to be part of a tribe. And there were times where I would let go by the tribe, but I took tribal jobs that were not in HR just so I could stay on the board, because we're a family. And that's the beautiful thing about it. We get on each other's nerves. Yes, we fight a little bit and bicker, but at the end of the day, we love each other and we do anything for each other. And I think that's what makes, I don't think, I know that's what makes this such a great board to be on.
Right.
So that's when I knew it was my calling.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. And I think you touched on something really important there, that as Native leaders in Native enterprise, we're invited to care more. And so if you're someone that's out there in a job or in a career, in a company right now, and it feels transactional, I'll be the one to invite you into our Native space and say, if you have that drive and you want that certificate to care more about the team, about the enterprise, about the community that you're serving, go check out what jobs are available at the tribe that maybe is in your area or in a place that you've always wanted to move to. And there are plenty of opportunities to serve in those communities. And just like what Anthony said, it is a path to care differently. In Native space, it feels different, and it's an invite to leaders to really come into the best of themselves. So thank you, Anthony.
Exactly.
So Azadeh, what was your kind of calling to this?
That question is like a 5-part question. Number one, I went to NNAHRA probably for 3 years before I ran for office. I saw the family orientation of seeing people from different tribes, getting to know one another, and really building relationships with people and having that network. It was inspiring. And I had taken the HR director position at home, and I really wanted to advocate ideally for the small tribes, the tribes that are in the nitty gritty, that have 500 items of compliance to do, and jobs that are behemoths in my mind. You have to become an expert in recruiting. You have to become an expert in harassment training, and
So Azadeh, what was your
the
kind of
list
calling?
goes on. Oh, benefits. It was my biggest hurdle, and kind of trying to be the advocate, and same thing with background checks and getting to know those companies on a higher level, and making sure that those companies that have the true purpose of Indian country at heart, and being able to advocate for partnerships with them, as well as finding ways to really connect those pathways to our citizens and our tribal members, and how do we bring up those programs, and how can we fulfill some of the drives of the tribal entities. Those are some of the reasons.
But I think, I'd call out a couple of things there, and you call to all these things happening at scale, right? They have these big jobs, and so many, the majority of tribes right now are in expansion mode. They're in development mode. They're expanding enterprise. They're developing new businesses, new technologies. And meanwhile, they keep that stakeholder at heart, the person of the community that relies on the tribe for resource, whether that's housing, education, medical, et cetera. So it's this ever expanding responsibility that the governments and enterprises are taking on. And your ability to see that need and step into those roles and say, hey, I think I can lead the way, it's not only necessary, but it's powerful, and it sets a tone and example for the rest of us to follow. So thank you for that. Suzanne?
I came to NAHRA. I was asked to be a speaker. My mentor at the time, Lorena Thompson, was a founding member of NAHRA. It started in the Northwest with a few tribes gathering together and recognizing we were stronger when we were together. And then they took it national. And so she was on the board at the time and asked me to be a speaker. And when I came to NAHRA at the time, we maybe had 50 to 60 participants at those conferences. And what I found to inspire me to want to be on the board was I realized how important human resources was to protecting sovereignty for the tribes, and how when you don't have the knowledge and the education, there's many federal agencies that human resources work with, and they feel that they have jurisdiction over tribes. And I realized that if you weren't educated and knowledgeable about what your sovereign rights were, that human resources could chip away at sovereignty for their tribes without maybe that human resource director even knowing that. They might put up a poster that is not required for us because we're sovereign to post. And every time you do that, you're giving up your sovereignty. And it really spoke to me. And what I saw is that we had so many tribes that weren't represented at NAHRA and weren't getting that education, and weren't, maybe they were someone who was coming into Indian country as a human resource professional who may have worked outside of Indian country. It's completely different. And so it really felt like a mission to me. I dreamt that it would be hundreds and hundreds of Indian country human resource professionals coming together and learning that, and that the stronger we were in our education, Drummond Woodsum, Rick Mickey, some of our legal attorneys that I met at that time, they just inspired me to get on the board and see if we could reach more people. And like Azadeh spoke about, and not maybe just the wealthy tribes who could afford to send people to conferences, but finding ways that we could possibly reach tribes that maybe couldn't do that. That was very important to me. We didn't have our THRP, which I'm sure we're going to talk about at that time. And that was something that I really wanted to take part in developing to get that education and make them stronger. So now when we look at this conference, which it always chokes me up, they'll tell you, it just chokes me up to think back at those early years where, we were lucky to have, 50, 60 people there. And then you see, 500, hundreds and hundreds of tribes represented, people come and they're bringing more people from their office. We have tracks, that are our sessions are so thorough. And I'm just really proud to be a part of that, to have had anything to do with that. And I just think we are strengthening sovereignty back at the tribes through NNAHRA.
Yeah.
I really do.
You bet. And to think that, and now how many people will be here at this conference this week?
We had 580.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does have that feel, right? There's a level of connectedness, because at the end of the day, the people that are here are invested in making the lives better for members of tribal communities. And it has that feel, the sessions here, and just kind of making a recommendation for anybody that hasn't been to NNAHRA. If you are a non-HR leader, please come. If you are an HR leader, make it non-negotiable, because the thoroughness of the tracks, of the sessions, it's just, you're not going to get the same experience at other conferences. Other conferences kind of set the native piece off to the side. Even when we're talking about gaming and hospitality, our tribal revenues and commercial revenues are effectively the same, but we're still really not on equal terms. And in this environment, like, it's all it's about
80,
is
nearly
how we
600.
care for these
Yeah, yeah.
enterprises.
I think the other thing too is it's hard to find a conference that isn't for profit or nonprofit. And we all have full-time jobs. This is just our volunteer work. It doesn't always feel like that. Sometimes this feels like the full-time job, but we are passionate about it coming from within the field. And I think that makes a huge difference in our conference compared to other conferences, because they're not in the trench. They don't understand. And I think our board, I've always been so proud to be part of this board, because they really do come from a place of understanding, which is so different. There's nothing in it for us. The only thing that's in it for us is what you take home. So the passion is at a different level.
You bet. Other conferences. Well, and thank you for taking it from the 50 or 60 to the now, close to 600 that'll be here in San Antonio this week. Judy, your leadership journey and what compelled you to really drive NNAHRA forward. And in this environment, it's all it's about. Right. Leadership journey.
I think Anthony Ozade and Suzanne said it perfectly. It's really, what can we contribute to our tribe? I came from the corporate world, being in Hewlett Packard, even though I was a part of our tribe and just started my position as vice president at Valley View Casino. I had a difficult time converting from following state to what
fantastic.
applied for the
And
tribes. So
So
my
a lot of
thought
times,
was, and this is why
we
I got
refer to
involved
tribes
with
as
NNAHRA
sovereign
and went to my
entities,
first NNAHRA
but
conference. Was,
and whoever
if I'm having this
feels like
difficult
taking the question,
of a
what does it
time
mean to
converting
be
and
sovereign?
understanding what laws apply and what laws don't, being from the tribe, how do our non-native employees feel or leaders feel that we're there? And so with the ultimate goal of protecting the sovereignty of our tribe, that's why I got involved. Also, one of the benefits that was a personal benefit was I've only been exposed to the Southern California tribes, and being able to hear about what's up in the Pacific Northwest, what was going on in Iowa, what was going on in New York, having that exposure to all tribes and being able to share our examples, our experience, and then hearing from them, it really just made tribal HR stronger for everyone.
So a lot of times, for tribes as tribes,
Mhm.
but whoever feels like, what does it mean? Yeah.
To me, and this is
and
my
I think that's
definition,
hugely
is
important
our
context.
right
And
to
Suzanne, I know
govern ourselves
you
as a
mentioned like
tribe.
even
It's our
we
right
have to be aware
and you
of
said it earlier,
what we're publishing to
our
team members
casinos,
when we
our
publish
properties
things
fund
from
our
another
government. And this is something that I
it
share
could
with
actually
our
dilute
new hires
our
every
opportunity to
week.
govern.
And I thank
So can
them
you
for
speak into
choosing
that a
Valley
little
View Casino
bit?
and the
And,
San Pasqual Band of Mission Indian.
how does sovereignty
because
and
they're
jurisdiction,
just
how
not
does that
employed by
play
us, they're
out for
contributing to
Native leaders
the
or leaders in
well-being of
Native
our tribe,
enterprise?
our tribal government, our police
Well, it's
department.
interesting. As Judy was speaking, I was
So
thinking
they're a
Keith
larger
Smith was one of our
contribution
keynote
than they
speakers, and he
realize.
talked about the
So to be
three
sovereign is to be
independent,
able to
sovereign
dictate how we're going to run
governments.
Yes, we
that
want
we
to be a
have.
good employer.
So you have
Yes,
the
we
United
policies
States,
regarding
you have
discrimination
the states, and then you have
even
the
though we
tribes.
don't fall under
And
Title
we're
VII,
all
we have those
our own
policies because we
governments, and
want to
we-
be a good
We
employer,
dictate
and we
our
are
own
good
policies,
employers.
our own laws, our
and,
own.
that
we govern
reputation is
independently
increasing
of each other. Now we work
getting
together
better with
and
the years.
I think when you talk about sovereignty and leaders, I think that you have to have leaders who truly understand that. I think he called them sovereign powers. And I thought that was an interesting phrasing that he used. And I think it's reminding our leaders and making sure that they are aware of our power and that how, if you bring in a new leader, that you really, the tribes need to have that, like someone like Judy, who's in a high leadership position, who understands that no matter whether they're a tribal member or not, but that they understand the mission of that independent sovereign nation and keeping it always in the forefront that all of our missions is to improve our government. Everything we do, all our enterprises, everything is for the government.
Healthy businesses support healthy governments, and healthy governments support and create a healthy people. I think that chain is always important to keep in mind. And so going to the mission of NAHRA, so why does NAHRA exist? What is the purpose of this organization? And Azadeh, Anthony, you guys want to pick that one up?
I'll give my 2 cents. So NAHRA exists to be a resource for its members, I think, number one, and to be advocates for ensuring that education is as strong as it can be for them to take back and arm them to be the best employers or best protectors of their tribe. The second point I was thinking, as far as NAHRA and the association, and what is one of NAHRA's key ideals is bringing forth a table to where people can get to know one another and can understand what's going on in tribes in South Dakota or tribes in Florida, and building those partnerships within one another as directors, as friends, and building those bridges to be that resource for each other. So even without the board, we're building bridges for the tribes to be resources for each other.
What an incredible way for NAHRA to fulfill that mission, to say we're going to create venues for connection to occur. And once these connections are formed, now anytime as a tribal leader, if I want to form a syndicate, if I'm having a challenge, I can pick up the phone and call someone. If I want to form a syndicate and say, hey, let's do something about a particular regional housing issue, right? Now I have people I can reach out and talk to about that. And the challenges facing, we've talked about it on here at length, is like the challenges around compensation, around finding and retaining talent. They're only growing. So our need for additional people in our professional networks is also growing. And I love that NAHRA fulfills its mission that way.
I think it adds to, when we talk about sovereignty too, it adds to that. It adds to HR is a key component in sovereignty, especially when nowadays when you have tribal members owning businesses and doing things. HR is important because you need employment rules, you need employment laws, you need labor laws. I think sovereignty, in my point of view, would be self-sustaining. Once we become self-sustaining and we don't need the outside help of governmental money or anything, then we can make our own decisions. We can create our own laws. And I think NAHRA is key in that because it shows people that HR is a key component in accomplishing all these things. And if you don't bring HR to the table, then you may not be very successful at attaining sovereignty. So I think it goes hand in hand, NAHRA and sovereignty. And that's one thing we don't want to forget about is our goal is to eventually, as tribal nations, become sovereign and be recognized as our own tribal entities and self-sustaining.
I think just to add on to those good words, I also really liked, we had another keynote speaker today, Dr. Loarkey, and I loved what he said too, that we're independent. So all of our tribes, one thing about being in Indian country and human resources is it's not just setting our own laws and policies that govern us, but they're also different from Judy's, from Anthony's, from Azadeh's. And so I loved what the doctor said, because he talked about being independent threads. But to me, NAHRA is also blending those threads and combining them to be something beautiful. And I think that is one of the missions of NAHRA, is that we are all independent. We give you the tools for whatever you want to decide with your tribe. But yet we kind of come together. I always think of NAHRA as a support group also, because we're all in it together, but yet we get to be independent. I might not like what they're doing over in that tribe, but together you've got the support group to have those discussions. So I just always love that about NAHRA.
Luarkey. Mm-hmm. Everybody. The spotlight was on us because stepped up. This is and many.
Right.
So it is.
What are some other ways that NAHRA fills its mission other than providing like an event like we're at this week? What are the other things, whether services, certificates, all those things?
You were right on point as far as the recruiting ideals of what we're working on. And a lot of time working in Indian country
if I could add to that also, I think also
network,
developing
and it's hard
the position
to
or
find
the,
those connections.
The Department of Human Resources.
A lot of people know a lot of amazing
their
individuals, but is there one resource for them to go
it used to be that,
to where they
HR
can
used to be
ideally like post a job that can have exposure to individuals that do have experience working for tribal entities,
help the tribe and help their businesses.
Understanding what sovereignty means, and
everybody
NAHRA
kind of
was able
stopped
to
and said, okay,
build
what do we do? Okay, so that's when
a
we
job
really
website
stepped up
to where we
and
have job openings.
I always say the
people
spotlight was on
feed
us
in
because,
information, and we share that out through
stepped up.
social
We said,
media.
this is what we do.
Trying to create a really strong social media network. So
professionals in HR
if I know
who didn't have a seat
someone
at the table
who's
now
interested
do.
in possibly moving
so
to
it is
Southern
really
California
developing the profession
and wants to be a compliance officer, Judy's sharing that job, and it's reaching me and my network to where I could reach out to my network, and it's just building that nice web base.
Mm-hmm.
We're also, when I think of NAHRA, we're a resource. So, like even when you look at the political landscape and you look at different administrations in the United States and how that impacts and what laws come down, our members can go straight to our website, and our legal experts are constantly keeping us up to date. So they can just go to NAHRA for that information, and maybe that same HR person also needs a job description, or that same HR person, maybe they're opening, they're starting to get into the marijuana, arena, and they are not sure how to navigate that. So this same person might have all these different needs that they would have to go to multiple different research, multiple different places. And now they can just come to this hub where we have all that information. Judy was talking about COVID, and I thought it was such a beautiful thing where we were sharing, hey, here's what we put. This was the COVID leave policy that we are using. Take it, make it your own, whatever you want to do. But those types of things, when you're in HR, is so helpful to make you look like the expert when you're talking to your executives or you're talking to the decision makers in the tribe. They want you in that room because they know you have the resources. And usually it's NAHRA. That's who they say, this is who I went to. So that's what one of our missions is to make them be at home who everybody looks to as having the information. And they don't have it. Right. They're getting it from us, which that's what we want. Yeah. So we're proud of that. Mm-hmm. 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 Is so
nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I want to kind of hang right there and say, okay, I'm a tribal leader, and I would love to have that information. How do I get that?
We get a lot of, contact from people who are just new into the HR arena for a tribal nation. And one of the things that I will share with them is get to know your tribe. If you're not from them, get to know your tribe. What is their compact? What is their constitution? What laws do they have on active with that
we
tribe?
are going by regions.
And that's so important.
So right
to know
now,
the
she
tribe
mentioned
that you are
California,
working
the Pacific
for.
Northwest.
The other
Eventually,
thing is,
we'll start rolling
the
out
services that we
additional
provide. We do provide consulting. We do provide
as a cluster.
the job
And
posting.
so
But we also started
if you're in the East Coast,
compensation
we don't
survey
have that
is just
yet,
for
but it will be
tribes.
coming
So we
in the
started with the
coming years.
California tribe.
And
We
so
actually
if
took that
I'm
over from
interested
the
in
HR
participating,
roundtable
is there somewhere
from
I need to sign
California,
up? Is there
and
someone I
we
need to
picked
reach
that
out
up,
to?
And now it went to the Pacific Northwest.
So I
our
need to
goal
watch
now
the
is to
NAHRA
do that
website
for
or go
tribal
sign up on
governments.
the NAHRA website.
And we're looked to for that.
Okay.
For that.
So if you're not
the
already
importance
doing
of that,
so,
in the
follow
integrity of that
NAHRA on
survey.
social media. If you're not already signed up to participate in the yearly survey or the compensation surveys, go do that today. Well, let's talk about THRP.
Well, you participate.
So
we send out
what
every
is that
year.
program? What's its intention?
Send out an
What's
invite.
it designed to accomplish?
They participated, and you have to
That's our
participate
tribal
to be
human
able
resource
to,
professional
get the information,
certification.
and then we will
And
sell
it's something I think
to
we're
other
all
tribals.
really
We won't
proud
sell
of,
it to consultants
been a
that
part
can
of.
use it, but really
And
to the
we
tribes
see it
themselves.
so much now. We're pinning over 300 people at this conference alone who've obtained their THRP. And it's a week-long class. It's put on by our attorneys, Drummond Woodsum, Rick McGee. We've got some really strong speakers in those sessions. And it's very difficult. It's not easy. And I've seen is
we
it's
posted
such a
on the
strong
website.
education,
Yes,
such a
it's it.
strong certificate program.
Yes.
That over the
And we
years, it's
send
been
out
so nice
social
to see
media
is how many
also,
people
advising people.
are putting it as minimum quals now that they, different tribes are requiring that if you're going to go into HR, that they want you to have your THRP. I see it on everyone's business cards, and it's just, we're really proud of that element. It's really morphed over the years. I can't say enough about it. And it just continues to grow.
The important everything.
Nice.
It's not. It's and understand So it has evolved.
Yeah, it started off as a dream. Now it's a reality. So they did an amazing job. We do an amazing job. And to just put it out there, it's fun. Third, it is a crash course, but Drummond Woodson, Rick McGee, they make it fun. So it's not like you're sitting there like you're in a boring old lecture. They interact. They make it fun and interactive. And I think that's what
it
helps
has evolved
too.
since
The
early
dream
days,
is to
and
make
it only
it
gets better,
equivocal to SHRM.
for
And so
our
our third
members.
like they were saying,
the
is
importance
now when you
of,
start seeing it as a
I want to say
prerequisite,
it's a week, but it's a
that
crash
gives us
course
pride
of
because
everything it
we're
applies.
doing the dang
And,
thing.
Mhm.
We're
for
doing
someone,
it as
especially
a
if they're
dream, and
non-native
now it's a
coming
reality.
into
And we just continue
tribal
to grow
country,
it and
tribal
want
HR
people to
country,
understand that
it's not just for
we
HR
are
anymore.
somebody in
It's
Indian
tribal
country.
leaders that are
Our
taking this
credentials mean
and
something. We do have a say
their role
in society, and so
governing
it's
their
again
tribe.
we're strong,
So,
we're resilient, and we're still
it
here.
has
and
evolved. We're
I
going
just love
into
it,
an
and that's what
advanced
NNAHRA is about.
certification,
And it's
and
that,
then we're
that
also
sense of
looking
leadership
for
and the
a
mindset that I
certification for
see is
tribal
like
leaders
in
themselves.
Indian country, if we don't create it, it doesn't exist. And that's really the whole idea of self-determination. If we don't build it here, you won't find it here. So yeah, SHRM has their programs, but we play I say it's niche of a niche, right? Like it is very specific to your tribe, your constitution, your compacts, and then how do I apply my time, talents, and resources to this particular spot? And your guys' ability to just like see the need, fill a need. And I think it's so much of the mindset about leadership that exists with courageous leaders across Indian country. And I think there's still this idea that when we think about Native employment, it's gaming and hospitality, it's casinos and hotels. And if it's not that, then what? And obviously that space has done very well for the tribes. But, you know, Anthony, as you look across, like what's happening in Indian country now, like how are tribes expanding? What types of businesses are they getting into? Like, where is all this headed?
What's unique is as you read, I'm the cannabis compliance manager. So definitely marijuana is starting to affect tribes, and we want to practice our sovereignty. So from my point of view, what I see is a lot of entrepreneurship. I know tribes are getting to the point where they're wanting their members to become their own entrepreneurs and step away from owning everything and step away from, hey, it's a tribal cannabis shop or it's a tribal entity. No, that is an individual entity, a tribal member's individual entity that they just pay fees to us for, and we guide them and help them. So I think the future is so bright for all tribes because we are moving, and the government is starting to realize and notice us as sovereign and becoming self-determined, and they're willing to work with us more than they were in the past. So from my standpoint, the cannabis industry is growing huge, and I want to be on the forefront for it, and so do the tribes. And so it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see the tribes grow. And so from my standpoint, what I see is just the cannabis industry. They may have a different, because they're different tribes from different areas, but from our area, we are the first ones in New York to have legalized marijuana. It hasn't been approved, it's been approved in the state of New York, but no shops have been made, no cultivators have been formed. We have all that on our reservation now, and we're looking to expand. And so that's, from my point of view, that's what I see.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so the tribes that you all are with, or the other nations that you have insight to, what are the other business arenas that they're really bullish on?
I think all tribes are moving, and is and work with my standpoint. And I want to be for it. Beautiful, beautiful to see. My standpoint. Amen. We are the first ones in New York. Been approved in the state of New York, but shops
So the tribes that you all are with, other
You bet.
nations.
Yeah, Suzanne.
What are the other?
Well, with my tribe, they're definitely trying to lead the way
Right now,
in technology.
and
so
as Anthony
they've
mentioned,
expanded
all
quite a
tribes
bit
are
into
structured
we have
differently.
our highest,
We
highest
have an
technology,
economic development
which is
corporation.
amazing,
We
and
have
they are
a
actually all across
gaming
the
corporation. I'm
country,
also on the board of directors
providing
for the
that
gaming
kind of
corporation.
technical support.
And the gaming
so
is
they've
the
really
main
expanded
source of funding for
outside
the
of just the
tribe.
casino.
But
I
the
think, like you
economic
said,
development also
I
has
think
a golf
a lot
course.
of times
They
it's
have a
connected to the casino,
you know, a
but
gas station.
like
It's
Judy
not even a
said, we're
gas
really
gas
trying to
station.
get
It's
into a
called
lot of
fueling
areas. So
station.
our economic, we're
A
not
very
dependent
large
on the
one.
casinos,
They
and so you see that a lot more. Like she said, we
rental
have
properties.
the golf
They
courses
have a
and the
number
bowling
of different
and the
areas that they
Cineplex, and
are looking
we've got our
into,
Yellow Hawk, our
fast food restaurants,
health
etc.
center,
But
and
the
we our
tribes
fire
typically
department,
have
and we
different
have
areas. You
I
know,
use
as far as
technologies, and it
HR,
just
you know,
keeps
you have
going
your
on
housing,
and on
you
and
have your
on.
government,
And
you have
they're
your
trying to lead the way, which is
education
nice. And I think that's
departments.
what Anthony was
And,
speaking about
they
for New York. Just where the
span
tribes
their
are,
knowledge
we want to
spans,
lead the way,
through a
no
number
matter
of
what the
industries. So.
industry is. We think we can lead the way for everyone else to follow. And I think it kind of speaks on what you're talking about as far as leaders in the tribe. I think they're definitely thinking far and away above just casino and the gaming industry. And it's impressive. I know when we sit here at the conference, a lot of our HR directors were over, maybe 100 employees. I have almost 1,000 I'm over, and it continues to grow. So it's exciting to see in all the tribes. Just you can see that they're really thinking outside of just that gaming box.
Sure. I think you continue to see areas of opportunity for tribes as they manage their own delivery of medical care, right? Maybe even taking on IHS contracts is something that we're seeing more of. Specific development in the technical space. And we look at a company like Cherokee Federal, who's just 100% government contracting and delivering humanitarian aid and crisis support and safety and security. And then you start looking at, well, because they're sovereign, they do nation to nation. So you're finding them, overseas, offices in the Middle East, like direct contact or direct contracting with foreign governments for these services like we just talked about. And it's the career opportunities become pretty endless as these tribes start to grow and start to expand. And what's exciting is like there's no Wall Street shareholder. Like the value is all returned to the people of the company, the employees that work there, and to create that more productive government and create a better resource community. It's really one of the few triple bottom line environments where people can work and build a great career and do all the things that they would do, in commercial organizations, but such a stronger sense of purpose if that's what you're after. So let's spend our last bit of time here thinking about what is the future of NAHRA. Where do you, after the accomplishments and success up to this point, where are you guys taking us from here?
I'd like to say that we're expanding international because they can attest that I've been applying for positions before I got this position. And for the first time, I applied for an HR position and I had to fill out a Department of Defense form. So, and that let me know that, man, our tribes are growing. We talk about growing. They're growing overseas. They're taking on Department of Defense contracts. So I see NAHRA learning about this and moving forward and figuring out, okay, we're going to have to start thinking international laws, and we're going to start thinking, how do we make these applicable to international? Because again, you'll see tribes that are buying stuff over in China and Asia, and our tribes are expanding and growing. And I think as NAHRA, we'll grow right along with them. And we have to, because we're not thinking domestically anymore. We're going to start thinking internationally.
Right. Well, that's a great point. That whole new set of challenges, right? You bet.
We sent our president a few years ago, went to Australia to meet with the Aboriginal community there. He also went to Africa, where we met with some first people there. It's interesting to expand like that, and to be an influence. I think when we talk about the future, I'd like to see NAHRA be much more of an influence in Washington, D.C., that we are growing so much that to be part of those conversations.
We
have been to Washington, D.C. We've made multiple trips there.
And we have members that are
headquarters are located in
NAHRA
Washington,
members from
D.C.
Canada.
But
and
being
even though
at
they
that
have
table,
different
those conversations,
laws,
they're making a
First
lot of
Nations,
decisions
people there.
out there. And
they learn from
NAHRA,
us, and we learn from them. So that networking and providing relevant information to what may be happening
another
here in
item that Judy alluded to earlier was ensuring that NAHRA has that educational track,
is really important.
Not only
So
for our
sharing
HR
that
professionals, but also our tribal leaders.
As Anthony said,
many
just that
times when we're
relevant
recruiting for those
information and tools.
positions, you want to be able to equip them with the tools to understand what it is like and what the nuances are, and developing that leadership track course is going to be a really great avenue for us to expand not only to HR professionals, but our partners in our entities.
And to add to that, what Suzanne said, I can't remember what conference it was, but we had Deb Holland speak. Remember, she left a video for us. So that's the influence that we're having. Oh, Sharice David, that's the influence that we're having in Washington, D.C. And that's the influence that we, like Suzanne says, that we hope to become greater at.
You bet. Well, you guys, just an amazing job. The leadership, the effort, the resources pulled together to outfit leaders across Indian country, whether you're in the HR space or the operating space, tribal government. It's just an organization that's really important to be connected with and connected to. So if you don't mind, Judy, can you let everyone know, like, I want to be connected. I want to become part of NAHRA. I want to plug in. How does someone go about doing that? You bet. Well, thank you for that. And as always, here at Purpose and Performance Group, you can find us at purposeandperformancegroup.com. Thank you all so much for joining us here today and having such an incredible conversation. And we look forward to seeing you the next 3 days and the next conference and the next online webinar after that. But thank you all for everything you do for Indian country and answering your calls to leadership. Until next time here on Magic in the Room, thank you, and let's go win the day.
Thank you.
Magic in the Room is hosted by Chris Province, Hannah Bratterud and Luke Freeman, and produced by Ben West. Theme music is by Evan Grimm. Title track Fake Love, available on Apple Music.
I think the
and
first
this podcast was recorded
to
at
go to our website,
Story
which is
Studio,
on NAHRA.org.
video and
We
audio
have all of the
editing and
information
production
there. You
support
can
by
reach out to any
Brad
of our board
O'Hara
members, which
and
are all
Elisa
on our
Crum.
website.
With inspiration,
And,
strategy and technical support
just
by
make the
yours
initial
truly, Neil Hughes.
contact, and we'll reach
Magic
out.
in the Room is a production of Purpose and Performance Group. You can find us at purposeandperformancegroup.com, and remember, previous episodes are available
having us.
at magicintheroom.com.